Good late morning to you. My name is Aimee Moulder. I'm from Wilmington, Delaware, and I'm an instructor with Crystal Light Therapy. I've been working with the stones for, 6-7 years now. Been a massage therapist for 16 years and trained in numerous modalities. Love the work. It's happy, it's joyful. I really appreciate working with the crystals, and that's what I'm drawn to most right now. And just merging it with all the other modalities, such as energy work. There's such a synergy between all of it. I look at it as my playground. It's my toy box, not my toolbox. It's just fun stuff. Everybody loves to hold crystals, loves to hold rocks. I mean, just growing up, how many times did you go to the water line and skip stones across the water, or just have that little pile because it's your collection, whether it's shells or sticks or stones. I mean, we're all drawn to the natural elements of the earth. Since the creation of Crystal Light Therapy, we have made many, many changes to the courses that we offer to make it safer. We had originally created a 3-day course, and during the years that we've been teaching, our whole premise of the courses is to keep it safe, teaching the safe and therapeutic use of crystals in the work. The original workshop that we created was too much for the average individual. Some individuals could get it, others it was just moving too much energy, so it has led us to create 5 courses out of the original one. An introduction, a 2-hour introduction, just to show them what the therapy is about. A 1-day human energy field, which tells people of the chakras, of the energy, of the field surrounding the body, to give them more of a groundwork as to what you're going to be working with. Then we had the 3-day level 1 course. Teaches you the basic principles of Crystal Light Therapy. We have a 2-day advanced level, and then we had the 3-day intensive, which is a combination of level 1 and level 2. We only teach that to the person that is versed in energy work, body worker that has been working with the human energy field and the physical body for a few years. Why do we do this? Because it's all about keeping it safe. Bottom line, there's too many courses out there that's not teaching the safe and therapeutic use of the tools. Just like Jenny was saying, working with the stones and keeping your working tools clean. Same with crystals, but on another level. You're dealing energetically. Crystal Light Therapy is a 3-part system. The first one is the purification. Purification of the body. I speak in layman terms to make it easy for people to understand. You have a fight with your friend leaves. Hour later, you still feel the heaviness of that argument that surrounds you. We are affected this way from people, the environment, etc., etc. So the first step in Crystal Light Therapy is the purification and cleansing of the space that you're working with and the body. The second one is a guided imagery meditation, where we take you through a guided imagery meditation through all the chakras, cleansing and purifying each of these centers, utilizing oils, stones, toning. Third and final approach to Crystal Light Therapy is a crystal point massage. Any of these sections can be used individually and added on to any type of modality, whether it be the Swedish energy work. Purification can be done prior. The guided meditation, so many people need something to settle their mind and get them centered and grounded. It's also something that they can take with them and do in the evenings or do it in their daily meditation practice. Instead of going into that zone of silence, they need the words, they need to visualize more until they get to that place of being. So we teach various aspects of the work that can be broken up and used. The crystal point massage, anytime I'm doing massage, if I have a difficult area that I'm working on, I either go for the stones, or I go for the crystals, or I go for both. So they're just extra tools that you can use just to get greater benefits when you're doing your work. So in keeping it safe, first and foremost is cleansing and creating this space for yourself and for your client, which is being grounded, being connected to the earth, and standing in what you are at all times. If you cannot, then you won't be able to keep yourself safe or your clients. And it's all about being safe and providing incredible service and getting maximum benefits. There's many ways of keeping keeping yourself grounded, and there's no right way. There's just the way that works for you, whether it is guided meditations that you have to do over and over again, go out and tree hug, qigong. I mean, there's so many different avenues. You need to make it work for you so you can get there in an instant, because that's where you need to be when you start working with the crystals and the energy. When we teach so many different methods, and we try to leave it open to the individual as to what works best for them. So this is first and foremost, keeping yourself grounded so you can keep yourself safe and the client. The second level of importance with dealing with crystal light therapy is the purification. Just like if you were a surgeon going into surgery, you want a clean room to work in. You know, you're dealing with the, many attributes. So when you clean an operating room, you want to clean your workroom when you're working with the body energetically. So we purify through energy work, Reiki, quantum touch. You can do it through smudging, utilizing smoke, water, earth, air, intention, many different avenues you can choose. None is better than the next in this day and age. There's so many people that have allergies to smoke, so you have to be very conscious of what you're working with and also the environment that you're working with. My own practice at home, I can burn sage, I can burn lavender, I can burn cedar. A lot of the spas you cannot, and you have to worry about the allergies and what people are allergic to. So you have to choose, but there's so many things available to us that will enable us to keep our workspace clean. So when you start off by creating the sacred space of the room that you're working with, yourself and your client, then you're creating that space where everyone is safe. And whatever transpires within the session, it's all protected. We use basalt stones, we use hematite, another way to keep everything safe for the client. We started bringing more and more of these items into the work based on what was transpiring when we were teaching. We were seeing a lot of transformational energy move, and people were ready for it, but sometimes it comes through so fast and furious you don't know how to keep it safe and contain it. So we had to start breaking it up, and we also had to start giving people other means to keep it safe. So by using the basalt, by using the hematite, it's like tools, visuals that the therapist could use, the practitioner. Some people can do it instantly in their mind. Other people, I have to do this, step 1, step 2, step 3. And by teaching it that way, it enabled people, it just worked better for them, per se. They need that guideline to follow. Basically what you and I were saying earlier. So we've created many different avenues in which our students are, and practitioners as well. Okay, now I'm getting, excuse me, too much floating in the head. So the bottom line with the crystal light therapy and our approach to it in these days is to keep it safe, keep people grounded, and the importance of purifying the workspace. These are the two things that we cannot stress enough. Over and over again, when we approach this type of work, more and more people are being drawn to it, and they're the lay people that are not officially trained in any type of body work, which they don't need to be, yet you have body workers coming in for the work, and you have lay people. So you had to come up with a way to teach people across the board to be safe in all the work that they do. So offering the 5 different courses, it's been one of our main areas of attention over the past couple years. Do we research this? No, it's basically so intuitive that we just share notes with one another and we watch what's going on. When we teach in different areas, energetically, we see so many different things go on. East Coast of the United States versus the West Coast, it's like night and day from one another, north to south. When you go abroad and you're in other lands, it's the energy of the earth, the energy of the people in that area. So just, it's like you're learning new things and you're incorporating new things, and it's changing your teachings each and every time. You may have a set standard that you're teaching, yet it changes when you step into that classroom because you realize that you need to bring more things forward. So we try to just accommodate on many different levels. And one of the weakest areas that we're finding is, well, one area that we had to strengthen the most was keeping it safe and teaching how people need to get grounded over and over again and purifying their workspace, creating that sacred space. Yes.
When you're talking about safety, are you speaking more of like mental and emotional kind of not safe experiences, or physiological body not safe?
Both.
Both?
Yes, absolutely.
So could you kind of explain what kind of emotional things can happen if they don't?
Emotional releases. When anybody lies down on the table, you're giving yourself permission to be worked on many different levels. So when you start working with the crystals and the energy centers of the body, we have no idea what will come up. For the most part, we're blind as to these suits of skin that we live in until we're worked on, if you will. We have the physical body, the mental body, and the spiritual body. So we're working in a huge bubble at all times. A lot of times there's the woman that has a fear of flying. Why? She has no idea, but it's a deep-rooted fear. So the person who's afraid of water, the person who's afraid of snakes. I mean, there's fears that get lodged in so many different areas of our being. So when you start working with the crystals and when people start releasing, you don't know what's coming out. So you have to be prepared. People can flinch, and it can be like a physical release through muscles, structural, or it could be emotional. It could be the crying, it could be the laughter. It could be just a wall of fear that they're faced with until it's released. There's so many things that can happen. So you have to be prepared on every level. So when you're grounded, when the client reacts, then you can keep them grounded and keep them safe. So the safety aspect is to keep them here, right here on the table when you're working with them, instead of them going out. And, boy, there's really anything can happen, but it's not something to be afraid of either. It's something that can easily be handled, when you work in love and light and you're there and grounded with the client, and when you're clear with your intention as to the work that you are performing, everything is safe. So does that work better?
Yeah, thanks, yeah.
So we teach to work in, amp up your love vibe when you're doing the work. Love is the highest vibration amongst everything in this universe. When you can stay connected and deeply rooted in Mother Earth, you're going to be keeping your clients safe and yourself safe as well for the work. The art of purification just cleanses the area. It's like cleaning your own house, or like I said, a surgeon having his operating room cleansed. You're going to clean up the body, which you clean up the field, you clean up the room. So everything is cleaned, cleansed, purified, and this is when you step in and create your sacred space. This is where you take the time, you get yourself grounded for the work that's going to be done. Any questions?
Well, is the crystal working the same on the electrical system of the body as it does in a computer? Are we
Yes.
getting the same?
Yes, it does. Crystals are amplifiers. We have, I have 2 different crystal sets here. We actually work with many different sets. It all depends on what you're drawn to. Crystals are amplifiers, so any of the work that you're doing, everything's being amplified, especially with the quartz crystals. So the more attention you can put on your intention of the work that you're doing, when you bring the crystal into the work, it's just amplifying it. So it's just like a laser beam, you know? I send you love. I send you love with the crystal, and it's like, I send you love. And it's amplifying everything. There's many different schools of thoughts on working with the crystals. Which is right? You gotta choose. You know, you read 10 different books on crystals and you get 10 different metaphysical meanings. Which is right? There is no right answer. It's what's right for you. The earth has changed. I mean, just look at the weather patterns in the past 5 years. The earth is changing. The meanings of the crystals are changing. What it means for you to hold a quartz crystal and you, it's going to be 2 totally different things. It depends on what you're working with and what you need to bring in at that point in time. There's too many books out there. So I try to teach people just to be open, like, what does it mean for you? The work is very intuitive. You need to trust that you're exactly where you are, working with what you're supposed to, and be open to the answers, the stories, the knowledge that's shared to you with those crystals. Do you need to work with the crystals? No. We do, because it amplifies, and they're beautiful to work with, but you can do the work without them as well.
Well, it's just, you were talking about toys in your box, and along with the tools in your box. And so every person that you're talking about right now, some of them work better with and let them open up with the crystals.
Absolutely.
So it's up to you and your intuitiveness, that if you go for a crystal, you go for a crystal, and that's what's good for them.
Right, and to choose the one.
Yeah.
You know, even though you can do the same thing over and over again, and, you know, choose to work with a quartz wand. Yeah, one day you're working with someone and it's like, no way.
It doesn't feel right.
It does not feel right at all, and you pick it up and it slips from your hand, or you totally forget to even reach for it. It's not right. This is following your intuition. If you reach for something else, you know, that's what's
when it
supposed
pops
to be.
into your head. And that's another thing too, is at least for me, that if it pops into my head, instead of ignoring it or thinking about it later, because then you forget about it because you're onto something else, that if it pops into your head, pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. The thought's not dropped in there just accidentally.
Right,
no,
right.
it's there.
But
But are
I'm
you
just
listening?
picking up on that now too, because before it was just like, well, yeah, tomorrow or something. But the person's right on your table right now, and that's why you're thinking about it.
Right. And to me, they are toys, because the work to me is joyful. It's not work. You know, it's like playtime. Ooh, what do I get to play with today? Will I burn my smudge pot? You know, will I use an aura cleanser spray? What will I work with? Will I be using my feather fan? Will I be using my crystals? What's that? So it's joyful play. It's just fun. You know, I incorporate essential oils. I incorporate toning. It's like I just have it's not tools. It's, you know, they're toys to me because they're that joyful to work with.
Do the different colors or the different types of stone have different meanings or accomplishments?
Yes, they do. But like I said, you can read 10 different books and it will give you a metaphysical explanation as to what exactly amethyst means. You know, what does it mean? You know, what are the attributes of this stone? For me, I know what the attributes are for me and how I use it, but then you could either wear this necklace or play with this piece of amethyst, and it can mean something totally different to you. So,
But there's a base, right?
there is a base, absolutely. We use stones that coordinate with color as well as, generalization, metaphysical description for the energy centers, your chakras.
So there's a starting point.
There is a starting
And then
point.
there's interpretation.
Then there's
And you go into your
interpretation.
advanced class.
So we have 3 different sets of stones that we work with, and even over and beyond the stones sets that we do, offer our students, I still bring other stones, other crystals into the work all the time because it's meant to be. It's like I can't work with sodalite. Cannot work with it. I have never been able to. It's beautiful, but I can't work with it. It just doesn't do anything for me at all. Maybe that's a lesson I need to learn, I don't know. But I can work with lapis. I love lapis. Lapis to me just feels so right. But I sell these to the students, but I can't work with it. I keep it as a reminder. Maybe one day I will. I don't know.
My first experience, if anybody wants to hear it, with stones were opals.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't figure out, every piece of jewelry I had was an opal. Was lost. It just like jumped off my body. Well, what I found out was, okay, well, it wasn't my birthstone, and it didn't agree with my chemistry or whatever, and I wasn't that educated to any of this stuff at that time. But it's just tragic things happened to any opal I ever wore.
Not supposed to have it, no.
I wasn't supposed to have it. It was the craziest thing. Oh, and then I found out that if you're going to do opals, and you have to circle with diamonds or something, if you want to be able to.
Or
But it was the
maybe,
craziest thing.
the job that the opals were sent to you was completed.
Yeah, and that
So
could have
then-
been
and
too.
then they left.
But,
Wow.
any earring or any ring or anything else, one ring, I don't know how it fell off my hand, it was run over by a car. And then I found it in the alley, all squished, and I went, gee, what's that? That's kind of interesting. And I picked it up and I figured out that it was this, oh, that's my ring.
I offer an amulet beading class, and I created this for women because I just felt there was such an incredible need for it. I love working with the stones. So we created an amulet class where we bring a group of women in, and I started with a guided meditation. Go into your heart center, find out what you need. What are you lacking in your life? Is it self-love? Is it unconditional love? Is it joy? Is it happiness? What are you lacking? What do you need to be complete, to feel completed? So after we do the guided meditation, we have a lovely table just filled with just rows and rows and rows of various different colored pearls and crystals. I mean, you name it, everything. And it's like, take your tray and don't worry about the color. Don't worry about what it is. Just be drawn. Trust your intuition. Go and find it and then start making a design. Now, when we first created this, we said, oh, Lord, you get 10 women together. They're all going to sit around the table going, oh, what are you doing? I want to do that too. Oh, what are you doing? It's like, that never happened, though. We had totally different creations. Night and day from each other. Some were small and delicate. Some were just wild and big and large and just incredible. After they did it, we gave them a piece of wire. All they had to do was string it, because the person who's not creative, they'd be the first one to say, I can't do that. I can't make that. That's not me. But they can do it because they chose the stones. They chose to put it on the string. We finished it, blessed them, cleansed it, blessed them, and everyone walked out with the necklace on. Do you know how powerful that is? They infused and blessed that piece with what their intention was when they started with the guided meditation. What do you need in your life? So now they go off, they wear the necklace, and oh my God, that's a beautiful necklace. Where'd you get that? I made that. That in itself is very empowering. And it will always remind them of what their original intent was when they made that. So you can go to the book and look up, well, this woman used this, 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 and this, and that's what it means. But what it means to her, totally different, and that's right. That's where you trust your intuition. Now, after the class, I did give people a printout on the metaphysical properties of the stones that they chose, as well as color, because color and, interprets things as well. So read and see. Can you pull up some of the metaphysical meanings and the basis of color association with what you created? And yes, they can. So there are a baseline for a lot of it. So, but, that's empowering. Now, they could have started the course with, oh, I want this, I want that, and it wouldn't have been the same, because now they're trusting somebody else's words, somebody else's understanding, which really wasn't right for them when they created that piece. So that's basically how I work with the stones as well. It's like, yes, the red is for the root, the orange is for the sacral chakra, and so on, but all the colors blend together. So, you have a basis of a color guideline when you're working with the chakras, yet they also overlap one another. So yes, you can use orange in the root. Yes, you can use yellow in the sacral, so on and so forth, because that red blends into red-orange, blends into orange, blends into yellow-orange, tangerine, as it goes on up. So there is no right or wrong way. If you put true intent and attention to your work, and you work with an open heart and open love, you can't go wrong. So I can say, this is how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah,
but ultimately, you need to trust
Yeah,
here.
not necessarily supposed to, but the elements of the stone or the quartz or the jade or whatever type you're working with, so that you can pick them with intelligence, and then so you have an intelligence of them, which creates a safety, and then you have your intuition about them. To what to pick or what to do for this particular client.
Right. As with you, losing all your opals, just going away. We use the various stones on the chakra, the energy points in the body, and many different times you can go and start working on a center, and it's like, no, you can't even go near it. It does not need it. It does not want it. It will not allow. Mm-hmm. So you just got to trust.
I think it's interesting because I have a girlfriend who has lost every diamond ring her husband has bought her. And I think now
Maybe she needs to lose the husband,
I think she's on her fourth one. I just find that interesting.
That would be a happy finder.
Something is going on with
I'm
that
on the fourth
relationship.
husband, does that count?
Fourth diamond,
No,
not
the
fourth
fourth
husband,
diamond,
right?
Yeah, the fourth diamond.
So
It's probably nothing to do with the husband, it has to do with the
there's
stone.
contraindications, and I guess it's a multi-part question. What would be some of the contraindications? And is it a blanket contraindication as I can't touch that person, or is it this specific stone might be contraindicated?
Contraindications when you're working with crystals or crystal light therapy. Age. You don't want to work on a child.
Okay.
Their energy is spectacular. They're still way open. They haven't begun to close down. So definitely age, and also mental stability. What do you? There's guidelines, so you ask the certain questions, and just like you're a massage therapist, correct? Okay, so somebody calls you, they want to set an appointment. You're going to ask certain questions, and we'll tell you, well, where did you hear from me? Who referred you to me? If you don't advertise and it's word of mouth alone, you ask those certain questions, and you kind of get the answers. Like, oh no, I don't think I want to take you on as a client. I'm sorry, I'm booked for that day. Same thing. So you don't want someone who is, highly loaded up on medications and has been in deep, deep therapy. Okay, you have to approach them in a different mannerism, if you will. Okay, because you're dealing with so many different energetic fields, not just the physical body, but the mental body, the spiritual body. So that's the beauty of crystal light therapy. You can still work on them, but I wouldn't work on such a
Intense level.
Soften, just take them through the guided, meditation without the use of crystals, or just do the purification. The full body purification can just lighten their load, to allow them to like rebalance without any, heavy duty work. It's pretty profound in itself. Other contraindications, as with massage, when you're doing, I do piezo electric, which is basically tapping the wands together, which is emitting an electrical spark into, the body. You wouldn't do it on bones. You're not going to work on someone that has an open wound. And you're also going to, take care of your crystals as you would your stones. Cleanse them in between. We cleanse them to keep them clean. I'm sorry?
How do you cleanse them?
I cleanse them with hot water and soap, spray them down with alcohol, and then I smudge them again.
Okay.
Purify. Crystals will take on energy and it will put it out, so it always stays in perfect balance of one another. But they need to be cared for. As you would wash your massage sheets, I wash my stones after each and every one, and I put them away. I keep them in my organic containers. The silk and also the cotton, they come from the earth. I put them back into the darkness, okay? There's so many people say, oh, you gotta cleanse them in salt water, you gotta bury them in the earth, you gotta, put them in sunlight, you gotta put them in moonlight, and they're all right, but, you gotta find out what works for you, And just attention to the thought, like, and cleanse them, in your mind. That will work just as well. But I don't leave these out. They're my working tools, so I always put them away. Cleanse them, put them away. So the contraindications, it's not as grand as, the others. So, you want to know about their emotional state, and you do ask certain questions to see exactly where they are, You don't want to, push too much. Some people you can get a client that come in, they're down on the table, and you think it's just not that it's anything's average by any means when you work on the body, but just a ho-hum session, and the most profound transformation, takes place afterwards. What do you do? So that's why you need to be grounded. You never know what's going to surface within, a session, and the unsuspected, always bring the most profound effects. The ones that you think like, oh boy, strap on my seatbelt, I'm going for a ride, and that's like flying through. It's easy breezy. They just presented this like persona to you. So it's energy. It's always changing. So by keeping yourself grounded, you can be prepared to work with whatever is presented within the session.
Having faith in yourself, knowing that your intuition is real. And
Trust in yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trust in yourself and the connection, to whomever you connect with, Doesn't matter, bring your own God to the session. Connect with, your guides, your angels, your spirit helpers, whatever you're going to call them. Plus, we call in the spirit guide, angels, and helpers of the client. So the room is filled, you got a full audience when you step into the work. Because when you care for a client, you want their helpers to be there, It's just not on us. We have our helpers to help us.
It's not about you anyway.
No, it's not about us.
So you're
at
just
all.
holding the space.
Exactly. Create it, call on your workers, and be prepared to who shows up, which is never know. It's really small. But, you're also calling on the spirit guides and helpers of your clients, so the room does get full. Because it is a connection, when you start working on a deep level, working on the energetic levels, it's like it is a merging of the energies. So you merge with that client. So when you create the sacred space, you merge the energies, you do the work, then it's a separation at the end. Now be, and then you need to be. And you need to clean up afterwards. Clean the stones, clean yourself, clean the client. Purification of smudging.
How do you clean yourself?
I smudge.
Okay.
Burn it in my pot, my abalone shell. Start from my feet up, come up the back, and always the client. I use that as a safety throughout the session as well. I start off with the full body purification just to prepare the the body to be worked on. And anytime I feel that any heavy energies are released during the session, I will go and I will use that to help clean the space. Interim.
I just finished reading some of the most interesting stuff, well, not just finished, but recently, because I always wanted to kind of prove that smudging did something. I mean, our people have done that forever, and it's like everybody and their dog's now smudging something, and they don't even know what the heck they've got, you know, and it's like, okay, there's got to be more to it than just a feel-good. So I started looking for some kind of scientific proof. I've got scientific proof behind everything else, why not smudging?
Right, and in smudging...
And I found this whole thing on the brain. The portion of the olfactory nerve that takes in the smoke that is registered in the brain never stops smelling it, because it might be a forest fire or a prairie fire that I have to get away from. Now, if I smell an essential oil, that goes into a different part of the brain, because that's just registering, trying to name it. What herb does this belong to? What flower is that related to? But there's no cautionary thing to keep it. So by the third oil, I can't smell or differentiate anymore because it's going to a different place. But that smoke is going to stay there until it's out of the room, and it will never be forgotten. And you can smell 3 more smokes. Each one of them will be unique, because you're sorting all the time. Okay, yeah, that's a wood fire. Oh, yeah, okay, that's a chimney fire. Oh, yeah, okay, that bacon's burning. All of those are going to a different place in the brain. So when we smudge to cleanse, it's actually making a different chemistry in our brain. So that is purifying inside and out. So it's more than.
It's also
Isn't that cool?
moving energy. It's moving the energy, and it's also creating negative ions. It's letting the positive down. So how do you feel in this classroom? Pretty good. But if we were all on the beach with our feet in the sand and listening to those waves tumbling in, we're going to feel just a little bit better. More negative ions there than there are right now.
Especially with my tie.
Exactly. There's umbrellas. But smudging is, you know, you're dealing with elements, you know. You're dealing with the smoke. You're dealing with the earth. You're dealing with water. You know, you're dealing with the air. You know, I use a feather fan. So movement. You're moving this energy. You're creating negative ions that are weighing down the positive. That's just making everything lighter. That's why you can just smudge a body. When they get off the table, they feel like they had a 3-hour session of a combination of many things, just that alone. So when you cleanse your room, you're cleaning, you're creating the sacred space, eliminating the negative, bringing more positive. That's also the intent that you set at the beginning, that you hold all through the session and that you end with. Intention cannot be overrated. It's the basis of all that we do. The more attention we bring to our intention in anything that we do, the more powerful our work becomes, our thoughts become, our actions become.
Could you speak a second about Tomas and Marilyn, how you came to the crystals and what that intention there was and how they, because they're unique. These crystals are...
They're absolutely amazing. Tomas and Marilyn, they own All Muse. They're out of Silver City, New Mexico. They are stone listeners and have been working with the elements of the earth forever, I believe. Yeah. If you ever met Marilyn, she reminds me, she is the most energetic, joyful individual you would ever meet. Half the time, I don't even know if her feet hit the ground. Mm-hmm. She's a
fairy godmother without a wand.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
She is small, petite, and so incredibly joyful and enthusiastic over everything. Take 100 joyful children and you create Marilyn.
Yeah.
So they have been listening to Earth, and forever, they tell stories. The stones tell them stories. They've written 3 books, well, many more, but Stones Alive 1, 2, and 3. And it's all their stories, all their listenings. Every stone, it changes. The time, the earth, it changes. So they listen and they share the stories with them. Marilyn and Tomas, they have traveled all over the world. They go into the mines in Brazil. Our crystals come directly from the mines. They go literally from the mine to a miner to Marilyn and Tomas. They're all hand carved with incredible intention and honoring. It's not a raping of Mother Earth and stripping her bare. It's an honoring where, we take with gratitude, with grace. The more hands that touch the crystals, the more energy attaches to the crystals. So, and we all know, you borrow that one thing, or you walk into that house and say, meet that person for the first time, you just don't like them. It's the energy. You walk into a house, you can't wait to walk out. It's the energy. You meet that person for the first time, you feel like you've known them a lifetime. It's the energy. It's the positive energy side now. So you got to trust with that. So the more hands that touch the crystals, the more energy it connects, that attaches to them. These, very, very few. I think maybe 3 or 4 before they get to me. And that is the beauty of our crystal sets. We also have people that make pure organic silk and cotton and hand dye them with natural elements. So everything is natural about, the crystals, the carbon, and the sets that they are contained within. Yes.
I was just going to say, I thought that crystals let go of the energy that the energy, I guess, passed through, or something that they didn't hold on to, the energy. So
when you're working with crystals, it's your intent that allows them to work that way, but crystals will accumulate energy. That's why you need to keep them energetically clean and clean in between, okay? But yes, they will hold on. Just like the opals did not want to stay with her at all, whatsoever, okay? If I lose a crystal, I know it was meant to just be passed on. I mean, I can take, like one day I took one of my favorite crystals and gifted it to someone. It was time for me, and I blew my own mind, like, I'm giving that away? Even pieces of jewelry, where love the piece, one of a kind, but it's not meant for me anymore. It served its purpose, now it's time to go on. Same thing. So it was, the time was ended with me, it was time for it to go on. But when you're passing crystals around, it also accumulates energy. When I pass on something, I cleanse it. And I set a new intention before I pass that on. How many crystals, you go into any store?
yeah,
It's like they're all over the place. You have no idea where they came from, how many people's hands they went through, or how many people walk into that store each and every day and they touch. So
Right.
therefore, you're accumulating layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. So you should also always cleanse your crystals when you get them, in the way that's most appropriate for you. Okay? So, and that's a whole other thing. But yeah, they do accumulate energy. It's just us walking down the road. You walk down the road and there's a group of teenagers in a very heavy conversation, very angry, very agitated, like even just gangs. How does that feel? How safe do you feel walking down? Do you walk by and it's gone? No. The thought and the energy and the heaviness and the fear that situation creates hangs on to you 10 blocks even further down when you're in a very safe, serene area. It's energy.
yeah.
That's all. I did bring everybody stones to play with, to take home. They're pieces of adventuring. They're just very joyful little pieces. They come from Argentina. So,
I am making a
Enjoy.
necklace at home with adventuring. That's interesting.
okay.
There, it's on my table.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, thank you.
Pretty. How do you spell that, please?
T-U-R-I-N-E.
Do you see your screen up there too?
Yeah.
Is that- yeah.
Oh wow, look at yours. Can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
See yours.
Yeah, it is heavy, yeah, it's cold too.
So enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.